I actually have a question. It's a little off topic from this though, but I've been wanting to ask you this for a while, just because like I'm curious to on your thoughts. And we actually talked about this on one of the earlier podcasts, but the the OSRS power creep issue. Do you think that like nerfing the blowpipe and putting the Bofa, like, do you think that like solved it, or do you think
No,
it could have been? You don't think it solved it?
no. The blowpipe nerf is good. I think it was good over time. I do think they were several years late
Right.
in doing it. Um, I mean, there's a lot of things that Jagex could and should do in order to fix a lot of issues. There's a lot of things wrong with old school RuneScape right now. Not even including just the power creep kind of thing, but just bots. There's no new content in the game. All the content that exists, there's just more items, more of those unique items being added into the game, and we don't have any way to like get rid of those. Because like I'm trying to figure out how to put it. So like like items devalue over time, right? But that's just gonna happen in any game. The longer that the content is released, the content is in the game, the lower the value is gonna go. But you can kind of like make it better. So like the first month the game was out, one person has this one item, most expensive item in the game. Now that thing's worth like a mil, maybe less. But that's because there was one item in the game before, and now there's a million of those items in the game now, with no system in place to help get rid of those. Like RuneScape 3 has a perfect kind of skill to combat this. They have a skill called Invention, which basically you have to sacrifice items, dismantle them, and destroy them in order to make another piece of gear a little bit more stronger. And they have that constant flow of just deleting items from the game naturally, by just training the skill. And even after you've maxed out that skill, you're constantly doing it because you want to get different perks on items, all that kind of stuff. Old school RuneScape, we don't have anything. It's just the items are just being added into the game. They're not going away. The only time they kind of like go away is if, I guess someone dies, and if they don't get back to where they died in 15 minutes, then it gets deleted in the game. But like dying in old school RuneScape is you don't have to worry about that anymore. Like you have plenty of time to get back to wherever you were. And so nothing's just getting deleted from the game. The best thing that old school RuneScape has is the dueling arena, and the I think it's a 1% transaction fee for all duels placed there to delete gold from the game. But it's just not enough. It does nothing. We have nothing in terms of like that kind of solves, like, it doesn't solve it, but it kind of helps with the gold issue into the game, but it does nothing for all the items into the game, all the gear and all the best in slot stuff. But everything is getting devalued. Like the twisted bow, for example, like 3 months ago, back in March when I got mine, was it was like 1.1 billion gold, and now it's 780 mil, and it's literally the best bow in the game. But there's multiple reasons why it's going down. Like that, and then the Bofa got added into the game, which is very next to the twisted bow itself, and even beats the twisted bow in certain areas too. So it's just that's why we're seeing the decrease in that. So it kind of helps, I guess, but I don't know, like power creep in general. I don't know what they can do to fix it at this point. I know they get a ton of suggestions from the player base or whatever, but one thing that the Jagex team does in terms of like for the old school RuneScape community is that they take their time trying to do things. And the biggest issue, in my opinion, is that the poll system, it was great. It's
Yep.
like the poll system is awesome, right? In theory. But
I know what you're gonna say.
I guarantee you 99% or more of the player base doesn't understand how to make a game last long term. And
Yep.
so they're just like, oh, you're going to nerf this one thing. They vote no. And if it doesn't pass 75%, or if it does pass 75%, depending on where it goes, like they're listening to the player base more than they should. I wish they would just get rid of the poll system, honestly. Like keep it for, I guess a couple situations or scenarios, but not every decision needs to be dictated by the player base, because I'm not a game developer. I don't know how to make a game last another 20 years. don't listen to me. I'm just gonna like vote in the moment kind of thing. It's like, oh no, I don't want this to be deleted or nerfed or something like that. But like that's another huge issue that's just causing a snowball effect in the game in general. It's just players don't know anything, and the team who's in charge of keeping the game alive is listening to them for every decision, and it's the poll system has definitely hurt the community in my opinion, or not the community but the game, more so than it's helped it over the last several years.
Yeah, that's like exactly what we were talking. Like that's exactly how like the power creep issue like came up because
Hmm.
I think we were talking about like the relationship between like a community and like the developers,
Hmm.
and I think like someone like said, I don't remember who, but that like the community, it might have been me actually, that like they need to listen to the community. But then like I also brought up the point that like sometimes listening to the community too much is bad, and I brought up the
Hmm.
power creep issue because if they literally just did that change unpolled right when the blowpipe came out,
Hmm.
like it probably wouldn't have been as bad. Um, but yeah, that's just yeah. It's
Yeah.
just really interesting to me.
Yeah, I mean, I like the poll system, but I hate it at the same time. I would love it if they just got rid of it. They need more what they call integrity changes or whatever they call it, where they just do an update without consulting the player base. They still
Right.
gauge feedback, which is good. Not a lot of companies do the poll system. Not a lot of companies really listen to the feedback of the player base of their game. But Jagex takes it to a whole new level and literally listens to the player base as to what updates that they should do in the game, which is, it's like a double-edged sword. It can be good. Mostly it's not, especially with the way that things have been in the last couple of years. They got good intentions, obviously, but they just need to listen to players less. The amount of players in the in game is far lower than the amount of people who are in the early game and mid game, and they're gonna overpopulate the votes severely. And a lot of people, just in general, even in game players, will think more short term effects than long term.